Carla. Welcome to my channel, Bound to Be Vintage. I am going to do a video today for Thrifty Thursday, which is a hashtag and an open collaboration hosted by Sheree at Turquoise Streaming, and also the hashtag Thrifted Treasures, which is another open collaboration hosted by Dale at Not Too Shabby Chic. I will put their information in my description box below. I urge you to check out their channels to see what they're doing, and also to use those hashtags to search YouTube to find all the thrifters who are participating, what they're finding, and what they're making with their finds. Today I have for you what I got at a huge book sale that was held in the late spring. It is hosted by Planned Parenthood, and they do it in the spring and they do it in the fall, and it's just an amazing, huge book sale. It's held in an exhibition building on the Iowa State Fairgrounds, and it was just so well organized. There was a room with very valuable antique books, which were out of my price range, and then the huge room where the books were all on tables with signs up above that told you what category of book, and there was just everything from foreign language books, cookbooks, romance novels, fiction, gardening books, ideals, just you name it, they had it. And they were very well organized. Tons of what I assume were volunteers, so you could check out quickly, even though the lines were quite long because it was very well attended. If you're in the Des Moines area in October, check it out. It's a great book sale. So let me show you what I found today, and I know already what you're thinking. If it was such a huge, great book sale, why do you have such a small pile of books? And there are a couple of reasons for that. There are a lot of categories of books that I just don't craft with, such as cookbooks. Also, I have a lot of books, so I tried to hold myself back. And when we get to the bottom of this pile, you'll see the third reason why. And that's because some of my budget was already spent before I even got to the main book room. First, let's take a look at the books I did get. This first one is called Buttons. It's by Diana Epstein. And I believe this is a pretty well-known reference book. You can see it was an old library copy. And let's see if I can find a year, 1968. This one may just be a reference book. I don't know that I will cut this one up. I do love buttons. I have an earlier video where I found a huge jar of buttons, and there were some very interesting things in that. So if you're a button lover, I urge you to go take a look at that video and see the things that I found in my button jar that I thrifted. The next book is called Vintage Wedding, and there's the author's name. I won't try to pronounce that. Another library copy, and this is from 2013. And this one, I think, has good potential for fussy cutting. Lots of images of brides and bridesmaids and bridegrooms all throughout the eras. Some photographs as well that would work great to do like instant ancestor type projects. There's a section in the back on colors, color palettes. Section on bridegrooms was shorter. It's definitely more geared toward the bride. But as you can see, a lot of great images I can fussy cut. So I picked that up, and I think each of the books I'll show you was either $2 or $3. That was their pricing on these books. I also picked up this vintage clothing book, again for fussy cutting. There are some of these photographs where they've taken modern day people and put them in the old clothes. I don't like those as well. They don't look authentic to me, but there are some authentic old photographs as well as illustrations that would be great for fussy cutting. And I have already started fussy cutting, as you'll see. So there's the author's name. And this one is from '87. And here are some of the images you can see. I've started cutting some things out. And then there were some photographs, like I mentioned, authentic old photographs. And I've cut out one of those. And at the end, I'll show you a couple of projects I've done with purchases from this sale. So there's a lot throughout the book that, again, I think would be great images for fussy cutting. Either the illustrations or some of the old actual vintage photographs. This does have some children in it too, as well as adults. So that's that one. Then I got this book, Victoriana Americana. And there's the author's name, Evelyn Swenson. And let's see, this one is from 1976. So some of the books themselves are a bit vintage. It's a reference book. It does have the possibility for maybe scanning some of the images. With everything, I need to make a decision whether I want to actually fussy cut from the book or scan. A lot of times, if it is a book where you have images on both sides, I prefer to scan so I don't lose the image on the back unless I just don't like the image on the back at all. Or if I can find a second copy of a book, I'll cut from one and save the other. Also, if a page is just such a large size, it's not going to work in a journal, I will scan it and size it down after scanning it. And if the paper's super brittle and I know it won't fold or hold up well, and I don't have an opportunity to back it how I'm using it, then I will scan that as well. Or, of course, if an image is very old and could be valuable. I tend not to have super valuable books just because, you know, they don't fit in my budget. So again, some images. There are a few color plates in here. It's a good selection of things to choose from for just a few dollars. And then the last category that I was really interested in finding at this sale is the Dover clip art books. I like these. I have a collection of them. They appeal to me. They tend to be copyright free, so I can use the images however I want. At this point, that's not a huge concern for me because I just make my journals for myself. I don't sell them at this point in time, but I love typography, lettering, calligraphy, all of that. So this book was right up my alley. It was a neat bird book plate, owl book plate. Unfortunately, they wrote the price on it, but that might be able to be used. You know how we junk journalers are. We find opportunity in everything. So these are just some what they consider bizarre and ornamental old alphabets. These make nice pages in a junk journal. Just folded in half because they are printed on both sides, and they're a good size for your standard junk journal where you fold 8.5 by 11 size pages. So I tend to like these for that. I will rip a page out and use it if I like the alphabet on both sides. Okay, and here's the reason, part of the reason, that I didn't get many more books. In one of the rooms, they had book pages and ephemera, very vintage, very reasonably priced, tons of it. And I spent so much time in that room and picked up so many things I wanted that by the time I got to the books, I was less excited about the books. And I'll show you these today. I'll try to flip through them as quick as I can because there's a lot. And I even actually have a couple more bags that I'll save for the future. The lighting may be a little darker today. I'm not using the ring light because I want to keep this stuff sorted in its bags, but they produce a lot of glare. So to try not to blind you, I have gone with slightly darker lighting today. But I think you'll still be able to see everything okay. So this little bag of ephemera was $1. And of course, immediately I could tell it was very, very vintage just looking at it. And I didn't realize until I got it home. I didn't open anything and look at it there. I just kind of went by the top image. It's kind of a religious selection. So we have these cute little children. This one's in pretty rough shape. Looks like it was taken out of like a photograph album or scrap album. But I like that image. A really pretty die cut cross. I don't do faith journals, so these may get passed along. Another cross. Pretty little card. And then this lovely rose. Then I found this book of, this package of illustrations from a book, and I just love them. I just thought they were wonderful. I wish I knew what book this was. So this is Going Places, and you've got the girl in the car. The pets. I love that lettering at the top too. It's time, when it's time to go to bed. All the way with a candle. Other people. I'm not sure if these illustrations are all from the same book, but these certainly are. I don't know if these are illustrations or chapters or what, but when it's time to play, alone by myself. Sad little picture. At our house. It's just sweet. When it's spring and summer and autumn and winter. All 4 seasons. My trees. I love that. That's just, I love these illustrations. My birds. And then my flowers. So all those pages were $2. There were 13 of them for $2. And actually I found a 14th in another bag I purchased. So I was happy to have that, and I'll show you that. Then I found these gorgeous pages of Godey's type style ladies. And the copyright on this is 1947. It's in the tiniest type down there at the bottom. But when you look at these illustrations, you can just tell they're old just by the style of the printing, like the colors and the way the ink is on the page. And that was $2.50. And I picked up a second one of those. Again, vintage images of women and the fashion from different eras is probably one of my favorite things to include in journals. I just was so stunned by what they had in this room and for the prices that they had. Okay, this is a package. It just says miscellaneous book illustrations, black and white, and it was $2.50 for all of these. I'm going to try to be careful with these because they are somewhat fragile. These are just from all different publications from the 1900s. I think some are even late 1800s. Some of the subject matter is kind of politically incorrect today. This one's lovely image of the, it's very sepia colored, of the women in the garden. Love that girl, flower girl. See, some of these will just be wonderful in journals. The Winter Queen, this one's called. Now, there were quite a few pages that I won't have a great interest in because they were political battles or things like that. But there were so many that I do love for the price. This one's ripped. But, you know, we junk journalers can make it work. It's a lovely image. The Faithful Dog. You can just see the age on this. This is from Harper's New Monthly Magazine. Nice little vignette of a home. Some of the illustrations too are kind of comical, or kind of caricatures. Again, that's not something that interests me as much, but when you buy kind of like these surprise packs like this, you don't know what you're going to get. But I definitely felt that I definitely got my money's worth out of them. There definitely were more images that I liked than that I didn't like. And you know, I can always pass along some of these to people that are doing different styles of journal that I might do. Oh, there's one on the back. Another Harper's. This looks like some sort of manuscript. You can see these are just pulled from all different type of publications from different time periods. That's in another language. Okay, and here's another one. This one was $1.50. Miscellaneous black and white, and this little boy was on the cover, and I just loved that illustration, so I bought this package based on that image. Here's one that doesn't interest me as much. It's another charming little house. This looks like a Call of the Wild or something. Can you believe all this for $1.50 though? It's just amazing. And these are the real deal. These are old. This has kind of an interesting yellow quality to it. It's not really sepia, it's kind of more yellowish. I'm not sure the camera's picking that up. Here's a sweet one about Grandpa. Someone's written 1888 on here. I'm not sure if that was the date of the book when they pulled it out and they wrote it on there or not. Like I said, I have no idea how this happened, that these pages were removed from books and placed in the bags, if that was something that volunteers did or what the situation was. Oh, Mona Lisa. And somehow this little Mickey Mouse illustration was in there. Vintage ocean scene. Another Harper's. Some of these say Punch. I think I remember hearing of a magazine called Punch. This obviously is one of my favorites. Fashions for February. There you go. Harper's New Monthly Magazine. February of 1852. Isn't that something? You can see why I just spent forever in this room trying to figure out which ones to take home with me. And my enthusiasm for the books was a little bit less when I got there. It was such fun to come home and go through these. Like I said, I just saw the cover images, so the rest was pretty much a surprise. I knew it was a lot of old book pages, but I did not know what I was in for. It's like a child's book illustration. So I have vintage images for days, and I don't even have to make the decision about whether to scan or use as is because they've already been removed from the books. Thomas Jefferson. It's a map. And something like that just would be good for just a book page project. More maps. This was about Daniel Boone. This looks more kind of Tudor period, kind of range all over the place in time periods in these books. We have Paul Revere's Ride. Quite a bit of historical things in here too. And I have one more bag like this, and then one that was specific to boats. And I'll show those at some other time, so this doesn't get too long. I picked up this. I guess these are probably pages from a book, maybe on vintage, or not vintage, but like costumes, native costumes, other countries' national costumes, I guess I'm trying to say. Pretty colors. So these two are packaged together for $3. This one with the kind of fur trim just really appealed to me. Okay, so that is it for what I got at that book sale. I have a few other pieces of old paper here I've added to show you. But before I do that, I thought I would show you how I'm using these. So the children's book that I liked a lot, those illustrations, I took the My America one with the flag, and just made a simple journaling card for my patriotic journal. If you'd like to see a flip through of that, that is on my channel. And it's kind of a grungy patriotic journal, so I've got this old grungy ribbon, and I've just made it a journaling card on the back with a digital paper from the kit I used in that journal and a graphics fairy label for writing on. So I have used one of those pages. For the vintage clothing book that had some old photographs in it, I cut this gal out and I made this tag pocket. And this is, if you're interested in making something like this, check out Amanda at Scrimping Mommy. I'll try to remember to link her below. This was a project and I adapted it just slightly because the punches I had to make the tabs were different than what she had. But it has this cute little hanging item. In this case, it's a telephone, because in one of my vintage pages from the books, from the book sale, was this picture of operators, phone operators from back in the day. So I used that as my tag photograph. And like I said, the design was very much based on a project by Scrimping Mommy. And then there's my telephone operator. So this is a pocket that the tag tucks into, and then the little hanging tag can tuck behind the photograph. So these two items, the two photographs, came from some of these book and paper purchases that I made. And then lastly, you've heard me talk, if you've watched any of my videos, that I'm working on a Victorian Wonders journal. This is one of the signatures, and I used one of the photographs from one of the old book pages of this hot air balloon. It said Balloon Ascension, and it was in a chapter called something like How Parisians Amuse Themselves. And I built a page around that. I did stamp it and put some photo corners on it. The background is a tissue paper that's been decoupaged down. This is an authentic old publication image that I have fussy cut of this woman. This is an authentic old liquor label. The hot air balloon comes from some wallpaper. Then I've got a little stamped label up here with a number 7 with a little bit of hat netting, and I thought that echoed the roping on the balloon. And there's a journal page from the Victorian Wonders, and it started with the old book page that just had the vintage Balloon Ascension. So there's a few of the ways I've been using those. I already did a haul, I think, for you where I talked about going to a parking lot sale at an antique mall, and I forgot to show a couple of the items. I picked up this hosiery bag with this wonderful old image on it. It's like an envelope bag by Wolf Brothers, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, made in the USA. It doesn't say when, but love that image. I also picked up this really large page from a publication, the Schoolgirls Neckwear. I've also mentioned I want to do a school journal, not necessarily back to school, but just in general, sort of school days. Vintage, of course. So I liked all these images. And this is one where I would scan it. You can see how beat up the top is. This is pretty fragile. I don't think it would fold well. It's a large size that's not going to fit in most journals unless you do a lot of folding, and I think it would just break apart. I've also got interesting images on both sides. I don't want to lose any of them, so this will go in my scanner. This is part of an ephemera pack I bought for just a couple dollars, and this piece was showing, and this was really the piece that I bought it for. And then last, this just arrived in the mail the other day. I purchased this from Estate Bird Sales. woman named Beth runs that. She's in the Kansas City area. When I lived in that area, I used to shop at her booth in this great antique mall that is now defunct. She still does sales there at a market called Good Juju that's held once a month down in the River Market area. If you're ever in Kansas City, be great to check that out if you're there on one of the weekends that they're doing it. And she started doing some Instagram sales. So I got this the other day. I'm just stunned at the beauty of the colors, and she always has really reasonable prices. She is a crafter, so she knows what paper artists like. She does slow stitching as well, so she always just has amazing things. These are New York Fashion Bazaar Colored Fashion Supplement, and this was the summer fashions. And the colors in this are just gorgeous. And the details, the typography at the bottom. I love absolutely everything about this. This is my favorite of the two because of the colors. Those mauves and roses and greens and blues. Mauve became a huge color in the Victorian era because they were able to develop dyes that weren't just plant dyes, that were more like chemical dyes. So it was a huge color back then, and this plate definitely shows that. And this is the other one. This says that these are early autumn fashions. I'm trying to give you a look at these without making you dizzy, but there's just so much beautiful detail. And I can't believe that after all these years, the colors are so rich. You can see they're staining on the paper, and you can see how the edges are wearing away, so you know it's got a lot of age, and it just is surprising to me that these colors are so vivid. This is definitely something that I will scan. Too brittle to fold, in my opinion, and it is pretty special. This is something that I think would be beautiful framed, so I will not fussy cut these or fold them to put them in a journal. And she had a really good price on these. She always does. So check out Estate Bird Sales on Instagram. And I will try to link in my description box if I can remember all these things. Thanks for stopping by today. If you like this video, please do give me a like, subscribe, comment. All those things really help a channel to grow and gets our videos seen by like-minded people. And it's nice in this day and age to kind of have a community of people that like and appreciate the same things you do. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.